All right, so today's class in our unit factors and multiples is on the lowest common multiple, which is LCM. All right, so lowest common multiple, when we're looking for the lowest common multiple of two or more numbers, we're looking for the smallest number that can be divided evenly by these numbers. And there's two methods that we're going to talk about. So we're going to use the factor tree method or the prime factor method, and then we're going to use the repeated division method. But before we do that, I just wanted to show how you've probably been doing lowest common multiple in the past, which was listing it out. So let's say you have to find the lowest common multiple of 6 and 5, let's say. So you would list out your multiples of 6. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, 6 times 5 is 30, 6 times 6 is 36, and then that would continue. And then you would do the same thing for 5. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3, and so on, until you find a common multiple. All right, so in this case, the common multiple is 30. All right, but you can imagine if we had larger numbers, it's going to take a really long time to find the lowest common multiple if we're listing it out in this method. So that's why we have these two other methods using our prime factor method. All right, so the first method is the prime factor method. This is where we will use our factor trees. So let's say we have to find the lowest common multiple of 24, 60, and 32. So the first thing we would do is prime factor. So 24, I'm just going to use two numbers that go into 24. So 2 times 12, and then I'll use 2 times 6, and then the 6 would have 2 and 3. All right, so then I would list it out here. So for 24, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm just going to list that out. All right, next we have 60. So let's get the prime factorization of 60. So I'm just going to use 2 and 30, and then I'm going to use 2 and 15, and then I have 3 and 5 to go into 15. So listing it out here for 60, remember to write them right underneath each other, and the extras we write off to the side. So we have a 2 times a 2, and then we have a times 3, and then off to the side I'll write times 5. All right, and then we have to do 32. So prime factor 32, so I'm going to use 2 and 16, and then I'm going to use 2 and 8, 2 and 4, and then 2 and 2. All right, so it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's. So let's list those out right underneath each other. So we have 2 times 2 times 2, and then we have 2 extra 2's here that I'm just going to write off to the side. All right, so now for our lowest common multiple. All right, so I'm combining all of this together. So we have 2 times 2 times 2. So notice this time for lowest common multiple, we're going to take all the factors. Times 3, then we have times 5, times 2, times 2. All right, so for lowest common multiple, we list all the factors, and then we're going to multiply them together here. All right, so multiply this. You can use your calculator. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 2 times 2, which gives me a lowest common multiple of 480. All right, so imagine having to list all of them out. That would take a really long time. So here we're going to use our prime factor method to quickly get our lowest common multiple. All right, let's try another example. So we're going to use prime factor method again. This time we are looking for the lowest common multiple of 4, 10, and 12. So let's start again. we're going to prime factor each of the numbers. So for 4, it's just 2 and 2. So I'll list that out at the bottom. So for 4, it was 2 times 2. For 10, it is 2 times 5. So let's list it out here. We list them right underneath each other, put the extras off to the side. So 2 times 5 off to the side. And then for 12, I'm going to use 2 and 6. And then 2 and 3. So for 12, I have 2 times the 2, and then off to the side, I'm putting the 3. All right, so my lowest common multiple, I'm going to take all of that. So I have 2 times 2, so all of this. Then I have times the 5, and then times the 3. All right, and then you just multiply that. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 gives me 60. So the lowest common multiple of 4, 10, and 12 is 60. All right, so the other method we can use is the repeated division method. So let's use a repeated division method, and let's go over this example. We're going to look for the lowest common multiple of 24, 30, and 36. So we set it up. So 24, 30, and 36. And we set it up like this for repeated division. So 24, 30, and 36 are all even numbers, so let's just start dividing by 2. So 24 divided by 2, that's 12. 30 divided by 2, that's 15. 36 divided by 2, that's 18. And we can continue. We have 12, 15, 18. All of them are divisible by 3 this time because we have the 15. So 12 divided by 3, that's 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, so now if we look at our numbers, we have 4, 5, and 6. So at this point, we can't find a number that's divisible by all 3. So what you're going to do here is you're going to find a number that will divide into at least 2 of the numbers. So that will divide into at least 2 numbers. All right, and then you're just going to bring down or rewrite the one that's not divisible. So rewrite the one not divisible below itself. Okay, so we can divide 4 and 6. We can divide them both by 2. All right, so 4 divided by 2, that's 2. The 5 we just bring down. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, and now we are finished. These are all prime numbers here. So the lowest common multiple is going to be all the factors, all of them. So all of the ones on the left and all the ones on the bottom. So the lowest common multiple is going to be 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 3. All right, and that gives me 360. And again, you can multiply this in your head or you can put it into your calculator to get that lowest common multiple. All right, so we're looking at 15, 12, and 24, and we want to find the lowest common multiple, and we're going to use the repeated division method. So 15, 12, and 24, they're all divisible by 3. So 15 divided by 3, that gives me 5. 12 divided by 3, that gives me 4. 24 divided by 3, that gives me 8. All right, so now we have 5, 4, and 8. So this is where we're going to stop and only work with 2 numbers. Okay, we can work with 4 and 8. The 5 we will just bring down. All right, so 4 and 8, we have to use prime numbers. They're both divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, and then we can do this one more time. We'll bring down the 5 and we'll divide 2 and 4 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. All right, and now we'll stop. We have prime numbers. So the lowest common multiple is going to be all of the factors. So all of them on the left and all on the bottom. So 3 times 2 times 2, that's the factors on the left. And then on the bottom, we have the 5 times 1 times 2. Multiply those together, and we get our lowest common multiple of 120.